Hello, all you wonderful folks, and welcome to the show today. We're always excited to spend some time with you and appreciate the time you spend with us. As always, we try to bring you things that improve the quality of your life and that of the lives of those people around you. So today we have a very special guest uh, who is going to share with you some of the things he's done, some of the things he's trying to do. And we're looking forward to you as an audience participating in the support and direction of this young man's dream, vision, and goals. Because we're here to help each other. And that's what we do as part of Hip Talk. And that's what we've been doing for years. So without any further ado, an exciting but quiet fellow from the western part of the U.S. So we bring you artists and individuals, business and tycoons from all across the country to help you shape your thoughts about things you want to do and help them to make progress as well. So without any further ado, I'm going to ask Joseph David Michaels Tower to be able to share with you a little bit about himself because he can tell you better than I can. And David, I'm gonna pass it over to you right now. Thanks for being on the show today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So my audience likes to hear a little bit about you, the good things, the bad things, the ugly things. So make it entertaining. I know you're from the West Coast. I'm not sure where. I think it's California. But lots of good things come out of California. Some nuts come out of California too. I heard of fruits and nuts coming out of California. I'm not sure which category you started in, but I know you're a wonderful young man now. No comment?
Yeah, started in California, as you say. I don't know about the nuts and things. Stay stay away from that sort of thing. But yes, started in California where I was born and raised, and from there on, growing up there, uh, you learn a lot, like anywhere, and
Yeah.
you sort of derive from your environment. And my environment was basically consumed by the awareness of life itself uh, for me. And
Where did you go to school in California? What high school did you go to?
I went to high school at San Bernardino High School.
San Bernardino, in the valley there. And now I would ask if you had a lot of friends, but I know you were kind of a pensive fellow. Thought a lot. So I don't know if you had time for friends. But what was life like? And after high school, and did you continue to live in San Bernardino?
Actually, life was good. It's great for me. I had wonderful parents. Um, May the rest, and didn't have very many friends. I was never the type to want to have friends. From seeing growing up on those outside areas of where I grew up, where all the fun was. You see a lot of you see a lot of people meeting their demise, friends and such as well, and so-called best friend. So coming up, I really never had a best friend because I always felt it was just me. I guess I just always felt that having a best friend it didn't turn out well for ones that I did know. With best friends and stuff, things would happen, this and that. Life is you have best friends, and sometimes it doesn't really work out well with your relationship. So seeing that, I really never had a best friend coming out.
with Joseph, when I say best friend, I'm not suggesting somebody's going to help you meet your death now. No, that would not be a best friend to me. I'm suggesting somebody you can hang out with, have fun, and be safe. You know what I mean? But if you saw best friends coming to their demise, I don't think I would want one of those best friends either.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't my best friends, but we've all seen them.
Yeah.
So I particularly stayed mostly to myself growing up, but it allowed me the opportunity to really, I would say, focus on life and how life goes, and how it led to my ability to see, really to I call it to see,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of people who don't see. They're just moving through life. There are some that can see, and
Mhm.
some those that can see. So in my writings, as I got older, I started writing very young, poems and this and that. Um, but as I got older, I started writing songs, not only for myself but for other artists. And
So
I was able
was
to.
writing like an escape for you? Is that or it was something that came natural? Some people use different paths out of their situations, and some people focus on work, focus on writing, focus on a lot of different things to be able to television, among others, drugs. Obviously, that wasn't your choice, but would you say that writing was a way to cope with the things that you were experiencing? Yeah.
Um,
Or just a talent you wanted to display?
I think writing was more like something that was just in me. My
Mhm.
mom was a singer, and my dad was. I had great parents. I had a wonderful childhood, so I was never running from anything.
Okay.
Um, where I grew up, my dad built a house for us in an area where when I step out the door, the neighbors, all I see is doctors, lawyers, and educators, that kind of environment. So I really never was running from anything,
Hmm.
but at the same time, um, you you know that environment is different from what the outside environment, especially for people of color, would be going through. So
Yeah.
when you make up your mind, hey, let's go over there, and you see the fun that goes on there and the difference, I think that draws a lot of people who aren't in that sort of environment to their environment, no matter how rough or how what you've heard. Um, but in doing that, um, I'd have to say those experiences weren't my experiences per se from getting away from anything, but it was the experiences that I saw and recognized, and uh, that helped me to, like all of us, draw certain conclusions to how society, how things go on the side that are more, uh, I don't want to say stress, but more distressed.
Now, at some point in time when we talked, you had some opinions about race and how that impacted your decision. Did you have that experience in the community you lived in at the time, or did you have that experience outside of the community? Did that come from the way you saw people treated, or did that come from your own experience? How did that come about?
It would definitely be from outside.
Okay.
Like I said, where I grew up at, there it wasn't like that. So, but we recognize uh, that outside of that, there was a place where it seemed like they were having a lot more fun. Even though it was a lot more dangerous, it still was a lot more fun. So we'd go there, and that's where I derived a lot of my experiences, and then go back home. with those experiences and then put them on paper.
So you took some risk along the way. If you left the safe environment to go to the environments where the fun was, as you called it. I mean, I'm sure if that's the danger zone, you might have found yourself a risk periodically, or in a way that would cause you to appreciate the opportunity to go back home, as you mentioned, go back to a safe space. Correct?
Yeah, that would be a good assumption because I believe it's in all of us to want to tell truth on what we see. Like things happen and you'll see it on maybe the news or something, and a lot of people don't believe things are that way. But if you live it, then you know they're that way. So for those who don't see it that way, and then
So it's not propaganda. It's sometimes what we see is real. With that, because there are some folks who think that what you see on the news is propaganda, and in some cases it may be, but in many cases, if you, as you said, are living that experience, then it's real to you, wouldn't you say that?
exactly. And so coming deriving from those situations, I would write about. There was always been mine to want to let others know through my writings and through movie productions uh, what is real.
Mhm.
We've had exclusion for a long time as far as what I choose to do, which is writing screenplays and doing movies and producing. And so we have a lot to say, and I hate that word exclusion. And for many people, because to me, everybody has a talent to write and to tell a story, because everybody has stories. But there's a lot of exclusion for those stories to ever be told. That's why, the saying is most of the wealth is in the graveyard. All the memories, all the stories that people take with them and never be told. So exclusion's always been something coming up as a child to adulthood that I never really liked that. Because when you have exclusion, you have a certain amount of people who control that certain platform.
Mhm.
But that's only so many people, so they can what they do is they control that platform, so they control who tells a story that goes into that platform and it's spread out to the masses. And I just never liked it, that exclusion, never cared for it, because whether it be race or whatever, it's just
Yeah.
a reasoning. I never cared for that. So for me, when I write, and my company, jdmstorytelling.com, when I write, I want it to be known that there's a lot of stories out there that should be told that aren't being told. For minorities in particular, because that's what I am in this country.
So
Inventors
the
and
stories
such
that
like that are beings. It's just never been brought out how many wonderful inventors and people of color inventors and just brilliant people, but it's never been told. So in my quest for enlightenment, if you want to call it that, I choose to write stories that are truthful about not only people of color, because at my company you can purchase scripts that are not only people of color scripts, but just anybody in general.
so
So
the scripts you read are integrated scripts. They're not specific to any ethnic group or situation. They're human interest or human
Uh,
interest.
I would say no, they're not. There's stories that tell truth,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be of any race. So, I have the hunt. That's
Okay.
what do you call it? European America, European guy.
That's
Hunt, right?
okay.
But then at the same time, we have blackout, which is mainly different races. And then, I don't write for exclusion of anybody.
Okay.
There's one called El Salvador, Smoke Before the Fire. Obviously, that's not what black or white. Um,
So we've talked a little bit about your work. We're actually hoping to cover that later, but what I'd like to do, first off, I'd like to be able to give the audience a chance to contemplate, think about the things you just shared, and your focus and how you learned and where that writing ethic came from. And while we give them a chance to pause and grab a beverage or snack, I want to be able to come back in a minute and talk to you about, you know, the what really developed your passion for it. How did that come about? I know it's there, you're talking about it, but where did that come from? Where did that originate? And I know some of the stories comes from your experience, the streets and so forth, but the writing, when did you discover that you had this writing? And what advice would you give to somebody that believes that they have these stories within them that you mentioned that are taken to the graveyard so that they don't take their stories to the grave with them, but they share the stories. And with that, we're going to come back shortly after a brief break, so our station can share some messages with you. We'll be right back to discuss those things we just outlined with our guest, Joseph David Michaels.
See us dream. See us remember. See us protest.
You matter. Your feelings matter. Your identity matters. Everything about who you are matters.
See us fight back. See us rebuild. See us shatter stereotypes. See us inspire. See us united. See us now.
The black truck? Hey, Christina from accounting.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, I used to date a girl named Christina.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then she dumped me for my best friend. You want to see some photos of them that I took?
I don't.
I thought we talked about this, buddy.
Buzz and overshared again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna call a car.
That's a smart idea.
So, yeah, I know, that's why I did it.
Hey, you're gonna get back to the top of the mountain.
Does that mean I'm gonna get back with Christina?
No.
Oh.
Thanks for staying with us. Sure you appreciated the break. We're going to come back to this discussion we're having, this intense discussion with Joseph David Michaels, writer, producer, and it sort of begs the question for an individual with the sort of writing ability you have, Mr. Michaels. Where did that passion for writing come from? And what advice would you give to people who want to write, but sort of feel like they don't have anything to say, or if they have anything to say, they don't know how to say? And I'd like you to address those things to help our audience to focus on maybe doing those, getting those stories out.
Yes, well, the passion of writing for me has always been in since I can remember. So it wasn't for some people to sit down and write a book, which I have before too, uh, and just stay with it for what, 200 pages, 300 pages. For some people, that seems like it may be a little strange, but then at the same time, that person may go out to a court and shoot a basketball like 1,000 times a day. So that may be their, their passion, something they would like to do. This happens to be my passion, so it comes from deep within.
Mhm.
And as far as people, whether he shoots a basketball or not, or her, there's still, to me, always a passion for everybody, bar none, to have that writing to tell your stories, I guess, light inside of you.
Yeah.
Some don't bring it out, some do. But I believe everybody has that, to have stories that they would like to tell, but that's just not their taste. So what we do is at JDM Storytelling, we also have a platform within that company called First Chapter 1. And what we do there is, say yourself, you want to write a book or a screenplay, but you don't know how to get started. Or you have an idea, but you don't know how to start laying that idea out for like a screenplay, 110 pages, 120 pages is a normal book. Normal movie. That's how many pages for a screenplay or script. But you have a thought and an idea that you'd like to bring out, but you don't really know how to get started. Well, First Chapter 1, it does exactly as it says. We write the first chapter for you. Like, you would send in your idea, whatever it is, and we would write the first chapter based on your thought and your idea, and you would get the chapter from us, purchase the chapter from us, and then you would finish your book off that chapter that's already written. It could be 10 pages, 15 pages, already done. So you'd read over it, hey, this is just where I was wanting to go with mine. And then you'd use your own ideas, but you'd have the format, so to speak, already laid out for you of what we derive from your idea that you send in to us. And if you order one of our books off the website, or you order from Amazon, you can get an idea on how we write.
Mhm.
And then that will help you to say, hey, you know what, I like the way they write this certain book or script.
So I have a question. That's for the person that wants to write. They can give you their first set of thoughts, and you can put them on track. How about somebody that's sort of feel like, oh, I can't write. I just want somebody to interview me and then write the book. Do you offer that type of assistance?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay.
Ghostwriting, absolutely. That's what it's called. Yes, we interview, and we also write their story, and that would be a complete story through interviews, and their experiences, and what they want actually to say, or what they're trying to say, how to bring that out. We're good at what we do, and I not only say that because it's me and the CEO of JDM, but I say that because the proof is there. You can, like I said, you can get one of the books and read it for yourself and determine yourself if it's worthy of.
I'm going to use one of your quotes, Mr. Michaels. I'm not the best. I'm the best writer What did you say? I like the quote. So although I smile about it, I like the confidence that you exude in your writing. So sort of I continue to wish you the best with your writing.
Well,
Now-
if you can't remember it, it must have not stuck with you very well. Maybe I shouldn't repeat it because but
you're
writing. I've been writing for a long time, so my skills are pretty well honed. Yeah. So.
Okay. I tell folks a lot of times, I went to school long but not regular. I attended Harvard, but I studied at Harvard, at the public library, but I graduated from the college right next door. So it's all relative. So at any rate, it's fun to certainly do the interview with you. Let's sort of move to another part of the process here. Why do you think it's important that that stories be told? What is significant about storytelling in your mind?
Well, to me, story is life. This life is nothing but stories of individuals and who travel certain paths.
Mm-hmm.
And those paths are very interesting. But if you never hear of that path and you're always steered toward a certain road, I feel a lot of treasures are lost that way. Because some people tell stories like, say, another race. They're writing for that race, but they're not that race. And when you look at their stories that they force upon you because they control that entity and platform that you watch because it's out there and that's what you have to watch,
Mm-hmm.
then those stories aren't, to me, they're not adequate. How can just like me, that's like me telling your story about you and I've never even talked to you about it. I never lived your life so that's one thing that gets me gets my fire going, so to speak, as far as when I write screenplays and books or poems.
Increases your level of passion for the work you do in that moment.
Yeah, you have to have passion about anything that you want to be successful at. If you don't have passion for it, then you most likely won't be successful at it because it's that passion that lifts you up when you're feeling down about certain, when you're writing or when you're playing baseball or whatever it is. You have to have that passion because it can be a little daunting, and I realize that writing so many. So, and that's where I derived the first chapter one to help along. I didn't have first chapter one when I first started writing, but had I had it, I know it. I still would have did the same thing because of my love for writing, but it would have been a great jump start, it's like any mentor. It's kind of like a mentorship for writing. Just get you going. And once you read that, then hey, oh, I got it. And you just be up late nights like me, like early mornings when everything's really quiet, 3, 4 in the morning, and you're just writing away because your mind is really open and focused to what you want to say.
Do you have a time limit on the stories you write? Do you give yourself a certain window of time, or does it come to you as it comes to you and you write it as it comes? How does that work for you?
For me personally, I set a time on when I would like to have a certain, if you're speaking of screenplays, a certain one done. My normal time frame, I would like to see a script done. It's 3 to 4 months.
Mhm. Now you made these screenplays, several of them that I'm now cognizant from my conversations with you, and you are seeking an opportunity to work with other individuals, professionals in the space, to be able to convert these screenplays, as you call them, into movies, into consumable entertainment by way of the screen, excuse me, for audiences. And I know that you have some specific thoughts about that process. And before we start climbing the mountain, because it is a mountain to climb, and I know you thrive on challenges, and we're going to take a short break because I know that the next session is going to be pretty intense in terms of reaching the partners that you want to have in this voluminous delivery of screenplays that you have created. And only one or two people meet or have the capacity to accommodate what you have created. So let's come back in a minute and talk about that. And let's see if we can put it out in the space where those who may have that ability to match your need are able to open up and accommodate the situation so you can bring quality entertainment to audiences across the world, the globe.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Hey, boss. Okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You sure?
I said I'm fine.
Since I was little, it was only like me and my parents.
You think you created family out of characters?
Yeah, of course.
I'm gonna take that, make it into a song. Put me to bed, see you in the morning. With the frosted Superman, but it wasn't on it. And we lost it. In my head, in my head, in my head. Where you at? Where you at? On the way out. In my head, in my head, in my head.
Hey, son.
Hey, Pop.
You can talk to me.
It's been really, really hard for me.
Really, we appreciate you staying with us. Thanks for spending some of your time with us as we get the unfolding story of Joseph David Michaels and his quest for excellence in the proliferation of stories that could entertain you indefinitely. However, in order to get those stories to you, some assistance is needed. And let's talk to Mr. Michaels now to find out what that assistance looked like and where it might come from. Joseph, we're back.
Sure.
Now, I've had some in-depth conversations with you about many studios, Denzel Washington, others, and I respected Denzel for that comment because of the comment that they've made about my laughter and its relevance relationship to Denzel. Although I think that's very unique. I'd like to find out from you, what are your thoughts about the partners you're looking for and why, in order to make this voluminous amount of entertainment available to audience across the globe? Let's have that conversation. And why you?
When you're reaching for the stars, the platform I'm reaching for, it's always good to have help along the way. And one of the primary things you must have is capital, funding. That's for anything you do.
Mhm.
If you're reaching out or you want to reach certain. I did a CD once, whole CD. It sold in stores and this and that and a little play. But it was primarily for my family, you know, so it wasn't, I mean, it took capital to do it, of course. I met with some artists, Boyz II Men and such, and if it's okay to mention their names. But the point is, it took capital to get going with that.
Mhm.
But that platform was just a personal platform. This platform for these stories are not intended for just low-key production and what do you say, your area here.
Mhm.
It's global. When I write my stories, they affect the world. So it's global. So the audience that I'm pursuing is not just in the United States or, you know, maybe another country outside the United States. It's global. I want the whole world that are able to and have the ability to see movies on screen to be able to take in the message in my stories. So funding is where people who are on that level can understand that that is needed in order to make that sort of platform happen.
Okay. So you are interested in working with a specific partner or some specific partners. And I know that sometimes if you pull a name up, you might sort of, as we talked earlier about, you might disadvantage someone else or exclude someone else if you start putting names in the hat. So ideally, what would your business partner look like for this program you intend to promote? What would your business partner look like? What would that studio or what would that studio capacity be like? What would the leadership of that organization be like? Give us a brief description. Who would you like to work with? Describe the person you would like to work with in order to make this distribution of formidable entertainment.
Well, if you're talking about for me, I would like to work with everybody. You, persons who are tuned into the podcast, my next door neighbor. I don't have a particular person that I would.
I'm not talking about your audience. I'm talking about the person. Describe the person that's going to be best suited to work with you or for you to work with to get your work out into the marketplace in a bigger way, in a broader sense. And you talked to me before about gross distribution or mass distribution and a person who has that network arrangement. You talked to me about the passion and associated with it and the funding associated, and not a lot of people fit in that box. So I wanted you to describe who that ideal partner and why that partner is ideal, and then be able to come back to, okay, how do we make this happen? Joseph, when we talked to before, you mentioned a couple of specific names, correct? You remember the names? I'm not asking you to repeat them.
I do remember it. Yeah.
Okay, so those names, those few names have a specific capacity or ability, and that's what I'm asking you about. How many people can you? No, how many people? How many partners? Let me put it, would fit in the box that you're looking for. When you described it, it wasn't, hundreds of thousands. It was a very few. So you were looking, if I remember correctly, for an organization that had worldwide distribution. And
yeah, the reason why I had mentioned my next door neighbors and such is because, I don't want to exclude anybody from trying to help get to where JDM is going. Now, if you want to go down to specific people, I don't want to really drop names about certain people.
well, we already dropped one. We already dropped Denzel Washington. He's an icon in the performance space, and he has a studio. I know that some studios that you thought of would not have met the criteria, and I know that you mentioned Mr. Lee, Spike Lee's son. I know you mentioned others, and they went all the way up to Mr. Allen, Byron Allen. So in talking to these studio moguls or owners, to be able to get your materials in condition for the market space, what the question was, what is your plan or proposal to do so in terms of reaching some of these individuals? And I know persistence is the key, and I know you to be pretty persistent. So have you reached out to any of these individuals? You are members of your team?
We have.
Okay. And are you continuing to do so, or are you awaiting their response?
Yes and yes.
So while we continue to wait for responses from these wonderful individuals that you are anticipating working with, are you continuing to write in earnest, anticipating that there will be a need for this work that you're creating?
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a passion. So when you have a passion, you make room for it.
Yeah.
Why a lot of people don't do certain. I met with an actor friend of mine, told him how many scripts I was apt to, and he was like, there's a lot of people who wish they could write one. You took the time to write all these different scripts and some other words of confidence or uplifting, however you want to put it. So I have to write. It's something that's in me. I don't feel comfortable if I'm not writing some of my thoughts
You know, I heard the CEO of Black Headliners Association, wonderful young man and friend for many years, Trevor Ott, said recently, uh, speakers must speak, writers must write. And I was thinking, that is so true. You know, there were a couple other things that you mentioned, but if you're a writer, um, whether you make a living at it or not, your passion for writing continues to abound. And the only way to sort of address that is by writing. So in terms of continuing the discussion on the proliferation of the writing that you do, I know you did songwriting at first. Do you still write songs and poems, or you just stick to the scripts nowadays? Screenplays, as I would say.
I do write songs. I'm actually in the process of writing a song for my son, who may choose to pursue that avenue of entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I do write songs and poems, but my main focus for me is the screenwriting, the story, because in this time we're living in, and the stories are getting worse and worse.
What do you mean when you said the stories are getting worse and worse? You're talking about the quality of the stories, the content, or the action from the stories?
I think the content. It's always been about the content, and in the past, content has been forced upon viewers, so to speak. So that's all we were able to see. And the content is this, for me, it's basically the same because it's been told so many times by those so many certain people that the content is just it's basically the same. There's two movies that came out and they're 10 years apart and they're just the same. And I myself pride myself on writing screenplays that aren't like any other screenplay. If you were to look at Blackout and read that, it's going to take you to a whole nother place. I'm not saying it's spooky or anything like that. It's just the logic of it and the writing of it and the answer that it gives in Blackout. It's nothing like it. So I write different from what is out now and what's been out in the past. If you read my stories, that's why it's important, so important for me to have the movies on screen worldwide so that everyone can see, because not only I write a lot of truth, but in a way to where I don't badger people, so to speak, different cultures, but there's truth within the cultures. And say, for instance, Africa, for instance, it's a growing continent as far as awareness is concerned. Not the awareness of seeing that propaganda where it flies on a child's head and all that fake stuff, but the real things that are going on there. It's a beautiful place. So my stories, I would like to connect to the African market, which is in the movies, they're really growing at a fast pace. But we have to watch who is influencing that too behind the scenes, which has always been done.
So when you say global audiences, how do you, well, there are translation programs for the languages nowadays, but I know that the context is also important. How do you address the this is very important. So we're going to take a quick break and come back, and then we'll wrap it up in our discussion in terms of context, so that the audience has a break. Has an opportunity to really understand when I talk about context and your explanation of context, what that really means in terms of the entertainment you promote or provide. We'll be right back, and we'll continue the discussion with the awesome Joseph David Michaels.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars.
Really tall.
I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on.
Do it for your roommates. Do it for your teachers. Do it for your crush. When it comes to wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart, and avoiding large gatherings, do it for everyone in your life. Together, we can keep COVID-19 out of school.
Joseph, welcome back. Welcome back to the audience. We're going to race through this point because I think it's very important to understand. As you move from market to market and continent to continent, context changes. What somebody thinks about a comment in the US may not come across the same way in China, may not come on, and then you have the language thing in China. It may not come across the same way in Australia or European nations. So how do you address the context of an event or action in the space? And then we'll sort of go to the wrap up.
I would say through simplicity may be the word, where you can understand it. It's a book that's worldwide in many different languages called the Bible, but the understanding can be acquired through no matter who reads it or what country. My screenplays, stories that I wish to be on screen there in China or wherever, I want the same way, to where they can look at it in China and understand what it's saying, how they may feel about it, and that goes for anyone. Now, there's always going to be places where people aren't going to accept whatever you have, no matter what.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean stop climbing the mountain, because it's, to me, there's a breakthrough no matter where it is, as long as you keep pursuing it and believing in it, the access will come. So you start somewhere and then you just keep building and building and building. I think that people in China saw the movie Titanic and it kind of understood what it meant. I'm sure some did. Maybe there was some that didn't. Maybe there was some that didn't care. But the point is, the movie was in.
As I asked that question, Joseph, I was thinking the movie The Secret was a phenomenon here and globally. And I'm sure people got that message, understood the message. So I think I answered my question with your support as it relates to context, because if there's a story, if it's told and it's human interest story, I think as human beings, we can all relate it at some level. It's been wonderful having you on the program today. I certainly appreciate your insights. I hope that as you continue to write, that you are able to move your scripts into production studios across the country, across the globe, and have the desired impact, which is to help people to be understanding of different cultures and their situations, and the stories that are told that impact their lives with or without them knowing, and to remove the exclusion, as you say, and provide inclusion of stories and thoughts and ideas that can help others and impact the lives of others very positively, while providing wholesome entertainment for the most part. So I wish you well in your continued journey with your work and the distribution of that work, the realization of your dreams and goals. And if I can do anything to help along the way, please let us know. We're happy to continue to serve, and that's what we do here at Phipps Talk.
All of us here, JDM Storytelling and First Chapter 1 as well. We thank you for the opportunity to be able to express our feelings and what our goals and pursuits are. And I always like saying the great words of Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. So with that in mind, you can never be stopped this side of death. So, and even after that, when you're writing screenplays, there are many artists who have left, but we still believe, if you didn't know that, you still think they're alive today because of what they left behind.
Yeah.
Through their work. So thank you so much.
We look forward to your success along the way, and I hope the moguls you seek to reach with get the message. It's out in the atmosphere, and continue to pursue the possibilities. And like you just said, in the words of Nelson Mandela, it's impossible till somebody else does it, right?
It always seems impossible until it's done.
Okay.
JDMstorytelling.com.
So please go visit jdmstorytelling.com, explore the stories there, share the stories that you observe with your friends, and help Mr. Michaels to be able to do the things he does best, continue to write. Until next time, be good, stay with us, and we'll come back in the future with ways to help improve the quality of your life, make life interesting. So continue to visit with us, and we look forward to visiting with you.